Dr. Ben Carson will not be attending the Fox News debate tomorrow night in Michigan. He has said, quote, "I do not see a political path forward in light of last evening's Super Tuesday's primary results. However, this grassroots movement moves on behalf of we the people, and it will continue." Carson says that he will discuss more about this at CPAC on Friday. Joining me now, Mercedes Schlapp, former Senator Scott Brown, Mica Mosbacher, and Mike Shields. Mercedes, I want to go to you first because Carson not going to be in the debates, but he will be at CPAC, so what should we expect?
Well, I think for Ben Carson, it's his opportunity to exit gracefully from this race. Obviously, he does not have a path for this nomination. And CPAC is the perfect place to do this. This is where you have the largest gathering of conservatives in the country that are coming from all around the nation to hear different presidential candidates speak. For Ben Carson, it's a moment, it's the right moment for him to step out. Actually, he probably should have stepped out sooner. But I think he'll bring to the table the importance of uniting the party and also of probably toning it down, which is something that I think we're also going to see with Mitt Romney.
You know, and to that point, Senator Brown, Mitt Romney, you know, again, it could be either two things, right? Because he has been hammering Donald Trump really hard on those tax returns. In fact, he made it an issue, and then he picked up on the New York Times thing. You think he goes that route, or maybe he says, hey, you know what, it is time for us to pass the olive branch around?
Well, first of all, as you know, I have a long and strong relationship with Governor Romney. I have a lot of respect for him. If he's going to tell us to tone it down and kind of get along and start to unify, listen, I'm all in favor of it. But if we're going to get a lecture from him and others about people's tax returns, with respect, the governor didn't release his, right away. And I support Donald Trump not releasing his taxes until any audits are complete, because you don't want to release them and then file an amendment. And that's coming from somebody who's released, I think I released 15 years of taxes, okay? And so I have no problem releasing taxes. But bottom line is that's just a false narrative. You're just doing the gotcha game. Oh, he didn't pay enough taxes. Oh, he didn't support this group enough or that group enough. You know what? I'm from the philosophy that we should be paying as little as possible in taxes, because the federal government is a terrible steward of our money. They're like pigs at a trough. You give it to them, they'll take it. So I hope it shows that he paid no taxes, and I hope everybody pays as little taxes as possible.
All right, well,
because we're in deep trouble right now, and they'll just waste our money, Charles.
Listen, I don't disagree with that either. I don't pay as much as Trump, but every time I'm filling those things out, I'm crying at the same time and taking a shot. Mica, I know you know what I'm talking about. What do you think, though? The Republican Party, there's a lot of turmoil in here because you've got three candidates who still think they can win. Obviously, Donald Trump is ahead. And many people are saying, hey, drop out or make it more competitive or do the right thing. And also tone it down because Hillary Clinton is watching, and they're going to use a lot of this stuff against whoever the nominee is.
Well, first of all, Ted Cruz last night didn't take a silver bullet from Donald Trump. As expected, he wasn't mortally wounded. He carried 18% of the delegates, including Alaska, where Sarah Palin had endorsed Trump. But let me say from the get-go, I have always taken Donald Trump seriously. And even when Ted Cruz was dismissed way back in May, when I threw my support around him, I was absolutely targeted by establishment Republicans who did not understand the pulse of the electorate. First of all, I recognized in fundraising for Mitt Romney, who I have a lot of respect for, that we had a ticking time bomb in the Republican Party. What I hope Mitt Romney will do is call for stability, but I don't think it helps that he attacks Donald Trump. I'll tell you why. He's an elder in our party. What we've done in the past isn't working. It's Einstein's theory of crazy. We keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. It is time. The people are speaking, and the last thing I want to see is a brokered convention. That's going to be a calf scramble, and it's going to hurt our party.
You know, and we're definitely going to talk more about that later. But, Mike, I think where some folks from the Mitt Romney side, in addition, you know, beyond the donor class and the establishment power base, are saying if indeed this is going to be a big tent, while Donald Trump is luring in people who might have been called Reagan Democrats at one point, he may also be pushing certain people out. Do you think Mitt Romney is going to try to find some sort of way of bridging both of those things, and by the same token, bringing some more civility to this race?
Well, we'll see. I mean, you know, he is an elder statesman in the party. I think he's going to be talking. My guess is he's going to be saying, hey, the forces that he obviously is not for Donald Trump. And I think he's going to be saying the people that are opposing Donald Trump ought to come together, and the party as he knows it, ought to come together to fight Donald Trump. And the fact is the race isn't over yet. Only 30% of the delegates have been awarded so far. We started off with 17 candidates. We're now down to 4 with Ben Carson dropping out. Last night, Donald Trump got 36% of the vote of people who showed up. So there's 64% of the people who voted last night who weren't voting for Donald Trump. And so even after March 15th...
On that note, real quick then, Mike, on that note, are you saying he would suggest a super ticket of Cruz Rubio? Because that's being thrown around.
I don't know. I don't know if he's going to get that specific. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll suggest all kinds of different things. But I do think that there are some folks that are looking at that 64% number and saying there's a big movement within the Republican Party. And by the way, the primaries that are coming up are closed primaries. I think if you look at where Trump has shown some weakness in Oklahoma and Minnesota, for instance, that he lost last night, those were where you have party regulars and people that are within the Republican Party that are voting in those primaries. And a lot of the March 15th primaries that are coming up are closed primaries. So I still think that there is an opportunity for the other, the non-Trump forces, and I think that's who Mitt Romney is going to speak to tomorrow.
Senator Brown?
Yeah, Charles, listen, the Republican Party in Massachusetts and New Hampshire and other parts of the country is the most united that I've seen it in my political lifetime. It may not be the so-called establishment folks that are, getting their feathers ruffled a little bit, but there are people coming into this party, new, energetic, young, independent Democrats.
Let me just jump in there 1 second, Scott Brown, because even the governor of Massachusetts is hashtag never Trump. I mean, when have we seen sitting governors, senators of a political party saying they would not vote for the nominee of that party if it's a certain person? This is mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling. Let me tell you something. When we're talking about cabinet positions, the new head of the EPA, dealing with judges, dealing with the vice president, if there's, in fact, a block or the tie in the Senate, you're telling me you don't want a Republican there versus Hillary Clinton and what she's going to put forth? Are you kidding me? If the Senate has all this clout and they're so unhappy, then be that check and balance and use that authority to reject any judges that Donald Trump puts forward or any cabinet positions or ambassadors. But to just throw everything out and say, oh, we're not going to allow anything, we're not going to support Trump. You're giving up cabinet, ambassadors, secretaries, you name it.
But I got to tell you, here's something. Let me hold on 1 second, guys, because here's what's interesting. Late this afternoon, I did some tweeting, and people actually started saying on the flip side of this, Senator Brown, and I'll go to you next, Mercedes, that if Trump is somehow, if they steal this from Trump voters are saying they would vote for Hillary. So all of a sudden, you've got people who are saying if Trump is the nominee, I'm going with Hillary. If Trump is not the nominee, I'm going with Hillary. That's how mind-boggling it is.